everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports Exchange. Yes, a different host tonight. Scott is a little under the weather. Actually, what happened is he did a one-on-one interview previously on No Limits, and it went like an hour and 20 minutes almost. And he's losing his voice, believe it or not. So he's taking the night off. JB Ellis, a little under the weather. He had some dental work done. So in steps me into the host and Pensman and JD. Thank you for joining us. So instead of JB, JD.
Hey, well, in mine, it actually stands for just delightful, and we're in for just a delightful evening this evening.
There you go. Aww. Nice. Okay, we're going to jump right on in. So the title of the show, Daniel Jones in Pittsburgh. Is that something you could see or not see? And we're going to start with you, JD, even though I know Pensman is from there. Let's talk about it, little JD.
All right, well, let's see if we can't rile Pensman up a little bit with this one, man. Like, are you kidding me right now? Could Pittsburgh really do this? Their management's better than this, right? To think that they could bring in Daniel Jones, who was overpaid as a Giants quarterback. He got complacent. I don't know that he was ever really good enough to command that type money. And so for them to talk about him to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers just seems ridiculous to me, because the Pittsburgh Steelers already have their number one quarterback on the team, and Justin Fields. He went 4-2 as a starter last year. Yes, he gave way to Russell Wilson there, who, I mean, let's be honest, he didn't have mind-blowing statistics there coming down the stretch for the Steelers. One and done again in the playoffs. So, I mean, Justin Fields, to me, though, is 100% the answer.
Really? Okay. Pensman, I'm going to let you roll with this one since that's your team.
All right. Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but Daniel Jones is a starter, and yet Justin Fields needs to be the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers because he knows the system already. Why would you bring in a quarterback, teach a brand new quarterback the system for 1 year, and then Will Howard's going to be in the draft next year, and other quarterbacks are going to be in the quarterback next year, and get a quarterback next year so Justin can mentor him. If you think about it, Steelers are 3 years behind. When Ben Roethlisberger, before he retired, he should have mentored the franchise quarterback. They shouldn't even be in the situation, but because they dragged their feet in the mud, that's what's going on. So that is what is going on with that. Daniel Jones, stay in Minnesota. You're a backup there. J.J. McCarthy is not 100%. You have playing time. That's my take.
Well, and to your point, too, I think Sam Darnold would be more likely than Daniel Jones to go to the Steelers. He's the one that's going to be a free agent, right? I mean, we all know J.J. McCarthy is going to be the Vikings quarterback. They have Daniel Jones sitting there. So their 1-2 can be solidified. Sam Darnold can walk. Could Sam Darnold be the more likely Pittsburgh quarterback?
That's the same. You're in the same situation as I am. They'll teach Sam Darnold the whole system, and they're teaching them the whole thing for 1 year. There's no point of teaching a new quarterback a new system. Every team has a system. So.
Right. Well, and then, one other point I wanted to make to what you said, Pensman, and I'll let you guys take back over. But you talked about them drafting a quarterback. That's always the issue, though. When you have a coach, Mike Tomlin, who's never finished below 500 before, you're never drafting in the position to get one of the top tier quarterbacks. Roethlisberger, if I remember correctly, was the number 24 pick.
11th.
11th. Oh, well, because it was Eli and Phillip Rivers in that same draft, and we all know they swapped spots.
Right.
But I thought he was a lower draft. So you can find a quarterback at 11, a la J. McCarthy, who we've talked about here already.
Right.
And so, though, that's the issue, though, with the Steelers is they haven't been able to find that guy in the middle of the draft, and they're never really high enough to get one of the top tier quarterbacks.
So what you're saying is Justin Fields can take this team to the championship in 2035 when he's 35, 40 years old. So you think he's the next franchise quarterback instead of drafting a new quarterback and let him take the reins 2035 and 2040?
No, I wouldn't. No, well, I wasn't saying sign Justin Fields for that long. No, let me be
Okay.
clear about that one. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I'm saying he could, if he and Tomlin maybe were to get on the same page and they can have a prolific offense to go with what we know is the steel curtain.
Right.
The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is always good. Their
Right.
problem though lately is they've lacked. I mean, think about the dudes they had: Antonio Brown, the running back. I forget his name.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yes, there you go. Ben Roethlisberger, Hines Ward. These dudes, they who's on offense now? George Pickens wants to be a UFC fighter, for Christ's sakes.
Right.
So, I mean, with the right quarterback, you can potentially – the Steelers can't be set for the next 3 to 4 years, I think, with Justin Fields, if I'm being honest with you. I think you got to get rid of Pickens. I think he's a cancer in the locker room. I think that would be priority number one. Trade him on draft day. Use him to get some picks or something potentially.
That's what they're talking about doing.
George Pickens, though, I mean, to me, he's a cancer in the locker room, and Tomlin has proved he can't even control the dude. So
they're talking about drafting that wide receiver from Ohio State, that Buka or whatever.
right.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about drafting, but I'm not totally sure. They at the combine, they looked at a couple running backs too.
Yeah.
Because Najee Harris might be going to the Chargers.
Well, and like I was saying, though, if you're drafting as the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's what you end up with when you go 9-8, 10-7, and a first-round loss in the playoffs. You end up drafting between 15 and 18, where the best player available is a wide receiver.
I got you. No, I follow you.
Because if you're looking for a number one quarterback, you've got to be way up higher, or you're looking for a backup that you're going to develop into, not just to go more the dark side.
Steelers are a PA team, Mark. I'm already in the dark side, if that's what you want to call it. The Pittsburgh Steelers. They're in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a Pennsylvania team.
Mark is probably referencing Philly cheesesteaks. That's what he had for his Super Bowl party, by the way.
I know.
He's an
I
Eagle.
know.
Yeah, he's an Eagle fan. Yeah, come.
Yeah, he forgets there's another team besides Philly fans.
I mean, hey, they're like 4 hours apart, so it's pretty easy to forget they're in the same state sometime.
The real. The real. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
the
funny.
Real.
The real. Things got real quick.
Things did get real. Okay, so let's. I want to talk a little bit. All-Star games. We've seen where a lot of them have declined. A lot of the different for viewership. As a whole, the NBA's viewership has gone down. But they hosted their NBA All-Star game on Sunday night. Now, I will admit it went against Saturday Night Live's 50th reunion show or so. But the viewership for this year's All-Star game was down 13% from last year. It was the second least watched NBA All-Star game. It had a total viewership of 4.7 million across TBS, TNT, and True TV.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And to give you an idea, and I know this is going back quite a ways, but back in 1993 on NBC, the NBA All-Star Game had a viewership of 22.9 million. Okay, 22.9 million to now 4.7 million. What a drop. What's changed? Pensman, your thoughts?
They're putting too much better quality sports into that night. Because what JD said, can I say something about your show, JD?
Go right ahead, bud.
He said that it was a slam dunk contest. Whoever it was not. He didn't even. He missed the dunk, and he didn't. And he got points for it. Nobody wants to see somebody do a slam dunk contest when, let's say, the Duke's playing or the Talladega or Daytona qualifying's on, or the dual races are on. They want to watch the dual races instead. They flip back and forth, and they don't want to see a guy miss a dunk. Be like, okay, this is lame. They actually, in the All-Star game, they put up a 200, 300 points a game. It's like 270 to 240 points a game. That's what the final score is, just saying. And then you got to have it more competition. The All-Star game for the hockey team, they didn't have it this year because of Four Nations, but it was competitive. Why don't they just have the regular basketball game, and whoever wins has home field advantage like baseball? That if they have that, then the All-Star game might be better.
Okay. JD, your thoughts?
Well, Miss Candy, if I could,
Yeah.
let me see if I can articulate this the best way I possibly can. There was a lot of questions in there that you kind of asked, so I might ask for a couple of refreshers on them just to kind of lead it all in together. But first and foremost, yeah, Pensman, we did talk about the All-Star games, the NBA dunk contest, and stuff at length on episode 50 of Southern Fried Sports. By the way, make sure y'all hit like and subscribe on South Florida Tribune. It's my absolute pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you.
And if I could, yeah, I would love. So my 50th episode, the number 5 and the number 0, it came up numerous times. It was my kid's 5th birthday party this weekend, so there's the 5. But then we had the NBA dunk contest, and the top score that you could get in that contest was 50. All right. And so I'm sitting here watching it. Not a huge fan. When the playoffs come around, I'll watch the playoffs. I'm a huge LeBron fan. Always have been, always will be. Do I like the guy? No. Is he my favorite player? Yes. But that's a whole other story.
Try to figure that out.
Right. I mean, it's like he was 2 years ahead of me in high school. Right. So I was watching him ball, a little old dude down here in South Carolina watching this kid ball, though, in Ohio. And it was all over ESPN. And that, of course, is all we watched back in the day. When 2003, 2004, TV stayed on that 4-letter network all the time. And so LeBron turned out to be my favorite player. But what he pulled in the NBA All-Star game, robbing someone of not having the opportunity to be there, was absolutely ridiculous. And that's the things why he is my favorite player, but I don't like the dude. You know what I mean? I like the player. I don't like the personality. He whines. He cries too much. The whole Bronny thing, that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But yeah, so the whole NBA All-Star game, though, the top score you can get is 50. These dudes were missing all the dunks and then just making an easy dunk at the end because you get 5 attempts for a minute. And nobody made a dunk except Mac McClung, literally. And not only did he make his dunks, he made the most ridiculous ones you've ever seen in your life, Candy. Like jumping over cars. The one where he jumped over someone and the dude was on the ladder and he dunked both basketballs. Meanwhile, nobody else can even make one. Like, that's the main goal. Get the ball in the hoop on a dunk. It's the easiest shot in the world to do. Right? I mean, some would argue maybe it's a 3-pointer now.
If you have the airtime, yeah. If you don't, then you're pretty much done.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not saying I could dunk.
I know.
I'm like 5'2", 120 pounds, soaking wet. No, I can't dunk. But again, back to the whole All-Star game, the NBA, their deflated ratings. I think it's crazy that they just got 76 billion. Can you imagine how much the NFL is going to get? That's going to be absurd. If the NBA, with their deflated rankings, their viewership in the tank, nobody really watches it. If they got 76 billion, we don't want to see the payday the NFL's about to get.
Oh, yeah. So, a couple of little points I want to point out about the NBA All-Star Game. The NBA introduced a new format for 2025 All-Star Game, opting for a 4-team tournament over the traditional East versus West setup. 3 of the teams were drafted by NBA on TNT analysts Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith, while the 4th squad was the Rising Stars team that won Friday's tournament. So, all of a sudden, here's your all-star game, and you're putting rising stars who have barely played how many seasons? Or, I mean, to me, they're not your all-stars. They're up and coming, but did they earn the right to be in that format of a game? That's a rhetorical question you don't need to answer. And yes, LeBron was a late scratch, which meant they couldn't replace him. Now, here's your biggest star in your game. The star that I would say one of the stars that represents the whole league. And here he knew going in, if he had a foot injury, why he didn't pull out early enough that somebody else could have replaced him.
Right.
To your point, JD, is unheard of. Like that speaks volumes, and if you don't know what that speaks, I'm sorry, but come on.
Well, and Kobe Bryant, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Kobe Bryant said the same thing before, though. So I've went to a LeBron game before, and fortunately it was in Charlotte and he played. But I think about those fans maybe that went to this All-Star game. Maybe they went to go see LeBron.
Right.
Think he's playing. And then not only that, a video like 2 days ago came out of him playing basketball and, playing, exercising and stuff with his kids and his family, which is all well and good. Shout out to that. But if your ankle hurts so bad, you're probably playing harder with your kids than you would have in this All-Star game. Meanwhile, we got the NHL 4 Nations, Canada, USA, man, they're dropping gloves. They're literally fighting on the best thing happens when you combine two things together. And to me, hockey and UFC are combined together. And so they got it right with their All-Star game to tie all of that in together. Candy, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
I agree. Viewership. So the NHL decided to do 4 nations. And America played Finland first. So the teams that were involved were Sweden, Finland, Canada, and USA. For those that don't know, they did a round robin in the first round, and then the winners with the most points will play the championships. That'll be Thursday night. So USA played Canada on Saturday night. For those of you, and I'm going to age myself as well, that remember back in the day, Saturday night in Canada, it was the same exact feeling. Like it was Canada versus USA. Heightened, how should I put this? Heightened anxiety, lots of, how should I put it? A sense of pride. A sense of pride for both teams. And I think that was really heightened. And yes, the first 9 seconds, 3 different fights. And some of it was the Tkachuk brothers. If you look back in history, their dad played in a similar game and did similar fighting. And so I thought it was cool. And I'm not the only one that watched it. There were 10.1 million people that watched Saturday night hockey in Canada versus USA. Now they'll play the championship game on Thursday. Again, the two teams are going to be facing each other again. With arguably the biggest name in hockey, Connor McDavid, on the Canada team. He's one of the biggest.
I know. I agree, but there's a bigger one.
I said one of. I didn't say the biggest. But
okay. I know.
So, JD, your thoughts on 4 nations and the NHL and
Well, I thought that USA Canada game was fantastic. I don't do much hockey, but I preferred it over the NBA All-Star game for sure. And then I know that Pinsman, make sure you guys hit subscribe and like on his channel as well. He's got tons of shorts. And so I'm going to toss it up to him in just a second. And we'll see if we can tie this all in a nice bow real quick, Pinsman. So you did a bunch of shorts about the NHL Four Nations. I learned a ton about hockey from them. And my biggest thing with hockey is I can't keep track of the puck. It's so like, can we make it anything other than black? Can we make it neon yellow? Can we put a highlighter around it? Like anything, because I can't ever see the puck. I have no idea. And so the hockey thing was great, and he did tons of stuff with the hockey on his YouTube shorts. I did tons about NASCAR, and so that's why I was not watching the NBA All-Star game. And again, like I said, I would prefer to have watched the NHL All-Star game over the NBA All-Star game. And then I did have one very important question for you both. Can anybody explain to me why Saturday Night Live was on a Sunday?
Take it away, Candy.
Yeah. I heard somebody say this the other day, and they were like, yeah, so Saturday Night Live was terrible. So I started watching the Daytona 500, and I thought they were joking. And then I was like, no, they're serious. Like, it was Saturday Night Live was on a Sunday. I mean, I get it was a big 50th anniversary, but why not have it on Saturday? I mean, that's the name of the show, right?
The only thing I can think of is because of Four Nations being on ABC, I think.
Yeah, didn't want to compete with hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With everybody.
Saturday Night Live.
What it's going by what Candy said with all the viewers, they were probably all amped up, and they probably didn't want to put it on because of that game, and that's the only thing I could think of.
Well, I was being kind of facetious when I said that too.
Yeah, I got you.
I guarantee you Saturday Night Live is bigger than hockey.
Well, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, I don't know what viewership for that was, but that wasn't the first anniversary special they did, though, either, is what I've been told for Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah, they've done a few, but yeah, that was just a little joke I thought I tied in. But yeah, NASCAR was great. Daytona 500, NHL. Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend for sports for sure. I thought.
Perfect.
Okay. One last point about that whole thing.
Do you want me to do my take quick, or
I want to add one quick thing before you, and then you can talk.
Okay.
It was so that match between USA and Canada was the most viewed than any other non-Stanley Cup final game since 2014.
Wow.
Now, Pensman, you can go ahead.
That's crazy. That's real crazy with all that history. That's crazy. But doing the Four Nations, that was exhausting because you have one game, then you have the next game, then you have sometimes they have 1 o'clock and then 8 o'clock and then this time it's like, okay, gotta keep doing this, gotta keep up with that. So I had to keep up with the times, had to work around my schedule. It's like, okay, here we go. JD, with your puck question, the 1 year, they only did it 1 year in the All-Star game. They had a light blue highlight thing in the puck. I don't know why they went away with it, but where the puck was, that's where the light went. So, why can't they do it in a regular game? Why can't they do it more often? I don't know. More people would get into it. So, NHL commissioner, if you're watching, get that highlighter on. So,
right.
But that game was crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say, though, is I'm pretty sure, Candy, don't we have MLB coming up here in just a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, speaking of that little blue highlighter puck, the MLB is testing something out in spring training this year, if you guys haven't heard about it.
I have.
That might pop up here in our next topic. Just saying, who knows?
So.
It might.
But as far as
you got so much to keep up with, and you got to watch the puck go back and forth.
Yeah, but as far as tomorrow night, it's going to be a good game. I'll be on fire up on that when it happens. So I'll be going back and forth watching that and doing this. So probably going to be a lot of viewers watching that game. And Canada, you know better not to boo during the national anthem. You know better. That's why you guys got in trouble during the Canada and some other game. I forget. I think it was Sweden or Finland, because I forget which one it was. They said to be quiet and be respectful because of what you guys did on Saturday was uncalled for.
I would agree.
So,
Yeah, that was wild.
I would agree. And JD, I would tell you one of the things that you talk about watching at hockey and watching the puck, try being a camera person, taking pictures of a hockey game, because I've done that. I've been there and done that. That is not easy. And it's a very different sport to shoot photography for compared to like your football, even your baseball and your basketball. Hockey is definitely that's a challenge, I will say.
I can't even imagine. I've been blessed to go to a few Furman basketball games this year with media credentials, and it's hard for me to even keep up with the players sometimes. Like when I'm trying to record videos, like I'm pretty good at it. I already told you I can't see the puck. I mean, y'all see these glasses I got on. I can't see the puck, dude. I'm toast in hockey. Unless they do something where there's like a bright yellow thing on the puck that I can see, I'm toast. I could maybe sit front row and see the puck. I think I would be okay front row. But then I got to worry about some 6'3", 240-pound guy coming through the glass and crushing me.
Okay, we're going to move on to a topic that's very different than what we normally talk about. Selfies. Believe it or not, the FBI used selfies off an Apple iCloud account that a Chilean gang had uploaded pictures of them with a whole bunch of stolen merchandise from who other than pro athletes. So we all heard about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Portis from the Milwaukee Bucks, right there. And their houses were broken into at the time of games. Well, this Chilean gang decided to take pictures while they were doing after the fact, displaying them with all of these artifacts. I think it was up to like $3 million worth of stolen merchandise. And the FBI got a warrant to search their iCloud account and arrest some of these guys. Can you believe what has this world come to? Like, are you really, I hate to say this, but are you really that dumb that you're going to put pictures of all this up? Really? Seriously? JD, speak your mind. How do you feel about this one?
Well, give me just 1 second as I go in here and try to delete everything off of my iCloud. So this might take a minute. No, I'm kidding. But one of my favorite sayings, and I'm sure you guys maybe have heard it before, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. All right. And yeah, sounds like a fantastic idea. Everybody lives in the social media world. So let's go rob one of the most popular quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that was where some of the merchandise came from, was Joe Burrow, their number 9 and all of that. So yeah, sounds like a fantastic idea. We're going to go, and not only are we going to do it, we're not even going to try to keep it a secret. You know, we're going to help the people that will come dust for fingerprints. What do you call them? Crime scene technicians or whatever. We're going to help those guys out. They won't even have to take pictures. We'll take the pictures for them. Like, literally, what are you doing? But I am so glad, though, that nobody was hurt during the incident. I'm glad they chose to do it when no one was home. But yeah, we saw this happen. I know down there in Miami, I'm sure you guys heard Tua. He said, hey, don't test that over here because my security is armed. They all amped up their security because of this. They shouldn't have had to. I'm always a firm believer that athletes are human beings as well. So, you know, sometimes their personal lives. And when you go to someone's home and you start interfering with their family and their well-being, and taking things that aren't yours, that sort of thing. That's where I draw the line. Like, these people deserve as much privacy as anyone else, despite being famous athletes.
Well, there's a time and a place where they're out there for the fans and that they can talk to, and most all of them have a time and a place.
Right.
Whether
Yeah,
it be
it's not like they're Batman. It's not like nobody knows who they are. Right. They're available.
Right.
But yeah, obviously this was a targeted, and it happened so many different places.
Yes.
There's somebody at the top pulling some strings, because there's no way this happened in so many different places at just the right time. So that it was all concocted one way or another by one person or one group of people, I think.
Well, they are saying that Mahomes and Kelsey were the first known victims in early October, one of them during the October 7th Monday Night Football game against the Saints at Arrowhead. The unnamed Bucs player was targeted on October 21st during a game against the Ravens. Portis from the Milwaukee Bucks, his home was struck on November 2nd during a game against the Cavaliers. Burrow's home was burglarized during a December 9th game at the Cowboys, and the unnamed Grizzlies player home was burglarized during a December 19th home game against Golden State. No information has been provided regarding possible NHL victims identified by the FBI or additional NBA victims. But close to the time of the Kansas City burglaries, the Dallas Star's Tyler Seguin reported a home break-in with watches valued at $500,000 reportedly taken. In December, an estimated $23,000 in jewelry was stolen from Luka Doncic's Dallas home before a trade sent him to Los Angeles. It's not clear if this gang is behind either of those two. But seriously, come on. Pensman, your thoughts?
I want to add to what you're saying. Ralph Williams and Candy, since he's going to be on the show tomorrow, I want you to witness this and go to subscribe to his channel too. But Ralph said that Evgeny Malkin plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Somebody broke in his house in December. Don't know who it is. That's why I was going to ask if anybody caught that. Went in this house while he was playing a game at PPG Arena that night. Somebody went in this house, grabbed his Stanley Cup final ring, and left.
Didn't somebody steal a bunch of O.J. Simpson memorabilia or something too? Wasn't that a thing?
That
Probably.
could be.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure OJ. Yeah, and I think that's why he ended up in jail.
One of the reasons.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the reasons.
Right.
There was a couple other times, but that's probably one of the times.
Yeah. Well, justice will always find a way to be served. We'll leave that at that.
Exactly.
But why would you do, back to the topic, why would you do selfies like, hey, here I am?
I can't stand taking a selfie of myself doing something fun.
I can't stand doing shorts.
Right. Much less if I go out here, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do something really bad. Oh, I'm not wearing my seatbelt. Because that's one thing. And Danny Cannell, he posted a video a while back. You can see he's on the interstate and he's talking about NIL and college football, and I can clearly see the steering wheel is in front of him, but he ain't driving. And he said he had his car on self-drive, but either way, that seems unsafe to me. So it's just wild, though. Like, oh my goodness. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, people.
There you go. Okay, on to another topic. Joe Buck is going to call a baseball game. He hasn't called one in a while. He is going to call the opener between the Brewers and Yankees, opening day on ESPN at 3 p.m. And then the second game that ESPN is going to have that day, Tigers versus the Dodgers at 7 p.m. Two pretty big name. I mean, let's face it, Yankees were in the playoffs last year. Dodgers obviously took it. Some pretty big games coming up. What do we think about Joe Buck and those opening day games on ESPN? This time I'm going to start with you, Pensman.
About time. Joe Buck, he is a fantastic broadcaster. Fantastic. He's one of the best ones in broadcasting. He calls it how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He sees something, he will call it. He's just like John Madden in baseball. But I'm glad I saw that. I'm so glad that he's broadcasting that. And the Yankees and Candy, I'm a Yankees fan. Candy's a Brewers fan, and it's the best game to broadcast. It's the first game of the season. Why not?
Yep. Okay, JD.
I am all for baseball. All for college baseball that just started this weekend. All for the MLB opening day. And yeah, nobody better to headline it as a broadcaster than Mr. Joe Buck. Yes, he has a fantastic voice. I don't really like my voice very much. And so this dude, though, he's silky smooth. Everything he says just has like the perfect inflection on it. He enunciates well. All of the things that you need to have good communication skills. And there's nobody I'd rather see calling opening day Yankees, Brewers, other than Joe Buck. Maybe they'll even have Troy Aikman in there, give Cowboys a little runtime.
Buck's last national baseball broadcast was November 2nd, 2021, when the Atlanta Braves beat the Houston Astros in Game 6 of the World Series.
Hopefully that's a good sign for the Atlanta Braves.
He will be in the broadcast booth with Yes Network analyst Joe Girardi and Brewers analyst Bill Schrader. So it'll be interesting to have the three of them in the booth calling that game, considering the ties that Bill has with Milwaukee and Girardi has with the Yankees. So that'll make it for a very interesting, I think, game to call. And that, again, is on March 27th. So that is a Thursday afternoon.
And not very far away either.
No.
Candy,
be here before we know it.
Another thing I was going to say is that'd be awesome if him and Michael Kay were on the same broadcasting. If you guys aren't a Yankees fan or listen to Yankees fan, Michael Kay does a fantastic job. He has his own talk show, too, on ESPN Radio at 3 o'clock, which sometimes I listen to if I have time. But Michael Kay and him, that would be awesome broadcast.
Okay. Well, that is... I'm going to do a quick station break because I haven't done one yet. So let me get that out of the way, pay some of those bills. The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book last year, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our normal host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. He is a little under the weather tonight, doesn't have much of a voice, so he is taking tonight off. But he wrote this great book, talks about his 40 plus years in the media business and how it has changed and evolved over that time. He actually has a picture, I believe it's in the book, of him with a young Tommy Lasorda. So, and of course there's a picture of him and Muhammad Ali. He's interviewed some really interesting people. So you got to go check out the book. It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of all kinds of other great content. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you ever want to be a guest or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you ever want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And we would ask, if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But also subscribe to the panelists because they all have their own as well. So they're giving their time graciously to talk with us. Please go like, share theirs as well. Okay, guys. Parting shots. What do you guys want to talk about? Pensman, why don't you start?
The Pittsburgh Penguins play Saturday at 3 o'clock. They play against the Capitals. If you're going to make this last push to the playoffs are in April. Don't know the exact date in April, but if the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to make a push, you got to win games to order to get there. You can't win 1 game, 2 games, and lose 4 and win 1 or 2. It does not work. It does mathematically does not work. You have to win 3, 4 in a row, then lose 1 or 2. Come back after the Crosby's playing he's playing with Tampa, but he's the only Penguin that's playing in those 4 nations. You guys should be healthy. You should be rested up. Let's win some games and make the playoffs. We have it in you. We're not that far off. No more losing streaks. I'm sick of it.
Okay, JD, your parting shots.
Well, first of all, I'm going to make my parting shot not a hockey puck. Because if it were, I'd miss it. And so if y'all have listened to the show this evening, Chuck and Mark, I see you guys out there. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit subscribe, as Candy just said, at South Florida Tribune. Don't forget Pensman Sports. Don't forget at Southern Fried Sports JD. You can also find me on X on Twitter. And you can find me on Facebook, JD Wyatt. I'm not hard to find. I'm usually right here all the time. But my parting shot, though, Candy, and I'll see if you guys can follow up maybe on this one and you can tie it in a nice little bow after this. But for my 50th episode the other day, I was trying to figure out things to do with the number 50, and they kind of fell in my lap. So we started at 850. Normally start at 9, started at 850, so had that number in there. We also had my kid's 5th birthday that I told you guys about. We also had a baseball game that could have been the run rule. It was the run rule. It was 36-22. But we were talking about that game. We got robbed of our first ever 50-50 baseball game in college baseball.
And that ended in the 5th inning.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah. Like we were robbed. They were on their way. Like at this point, who were they? Who was even pitching? Who was even pitching? Were they bringing fans out of the stands? Like what? What is even 5th inning and you've given up 58 runs combined, and the team that actually won was down 14-3. Can you imagine being up 14-3 and losing the game in baseball? So that's wild. And then my last parting shot, though, this is the one I wanted to get you guys' takes on. I decided to do a top 5 of number zeros. And among that list were Carmelo Anthony. Oh, goodness. I have the list somewhere close by. One
Russell
that
Westbrook.
I had. Russell Westbrook. Yeah, Westbrook was one. Oh, Bobby Bonds.
There you go.
And not Tony Gwynn, Tony Clark. Tony Clark, Bobby Bonds. There you go, Pensman. Yeah, thank you. So it was Russell Westbrook, and then the NASCAR.
Yeah.
The 00. Buckshot Jones. Is that not a great name? Is that not a fantastic name, Buckshot Jones? So that's my parting shot. Y'all hit subscribe, like, and Candy, you're awesome. You nailed that promo read, by the way. Just wanted to give you that compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Number zeros. That's interesting. I never even thought of
those. There was Gilbert Arenas. A lot of them were NBA. There was actually because NFL, I don't think you can have the number 0 even anymore. But there was somebody
not anymore, but you could.
Yeah,
hold on. You didn't see one of my comments, by the way. Since I have you, it's DeAndre Swift was on there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He was number 0. You didn't look at my comment.
Yeah. Well, we were flying through them, bro.
I know.
It was great, man. Episode 50 was fantastic. It was.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Oh no, man, no. And I even postponed it a little bit, so I had to get creative, Candy. So I was at episode 49 for a while, and I was like, no, I'm holding off on this 50 until I figure something out. And so, yeah, I started doing like Southern Fried Sports After Dark, Southern Fried Sports just with nothing after it. And then, yeah, we hit the 51, man. It was a fun time. It was fantastic. And
I was actually waiting for it.
I love being here with you guys. I love talking sports with different people. It's, you know what I mean? I'm here to unify the fans. And I did say my pleasure a minute ago. And that's always what I'll try to be. I'll try to be honest. I'll try to be a gentleman. And I'll try to give you the best sports opinion that I possibly can. And we might even have a few jokes along the way. Who knows?
There you go. There you go. My parting shot. Kudos to the Milwaukee Brewers. What they did is they had Bob Uecker's signature and they put it on the field for spring training, for their spring training, all their spring training games. So if you look at their field, if you don't know who Bob Uecker is, I'm sorry, you missed a great man, great broadcaster. I mean, he just did everything well. And he is from my hometown back in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
Really?
Yes, he lived. That's where he lived for the majority.
Awesome.
He was born in Milwaukee, but yes, great broadcaster, funny man, loved him. Rest in peace. We did a special on him on our YouTube channel, so if you want to check that out, you can. But kudos to the Brewers for trying, and they're going to wear a special patch on their uniform for the whole year. So kudos to that. Loved Uecker. So
He was hilarious in Major League.
Oh yes.
That's what. So me not being much of a Brewers fan, like I knew the guy and I knew he was an actual announcer, but what he was able to do in that movie though was fantastic. And yeah, absolutely, that's a good parting shot though for sure, Candy.
Yes, and he actually played in the TV series Mr. Belvedere. If you didn't know that,
yep,
he was good there. He was obviously lights out in Major League. That was awesome, and he did a lot of Miller Lite beer commercials back in the day as well. So, 50 years in an industry like he was is just unbelievable. Awesome. And that's after he played.
Right. And yeah, we offered because he talked about how much he sucked.
Right.
He always made fun of himself. And the one thing I was going to say though is, did you guys see the Division III? It kind of all ties into the Major League and Bob talk. Did y'all see the Division III team? They recreated the commercial, the Old Spice commercial from Major League, and they nailed it. Yeah, there's a Division III baseball team. The video's been on Twitter and stuff. You guys can probably search it easily. Division III Major League video. I'm sure it'll pop up. But they do the whole commercial, and they've got it side by side, and
Cool.
they nailed it. And so yeah, shout out to Bob and that whole Major League movie, the Brewers even.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in a nice little bow, Candy.
Exactly. Isn't that the way it should be? We tie it all up, Awesome. Well, it's the time of the night where we're going to talk about where people can get a hold of you, where they can see you, where they can definitely subscribe to you guys and watch you.
Hey,
Go
Candy.
ahead, JD. Start. Oh, sorry, Pensman. Did you want to
yeah, first? I got one question for you. Are you gonna take a take on Daniel Jones in Pittsburgh? You just talked about us two, and we had that little debate, but I didn't know if you had a take. I just want to know if you had a input on it.
Yes, Candy. I would love to hear this.
Honestly, Pittsburgh, stay away. Daniel Jones is way overrated, overpaid. He throws too many interceptions. You guys do not need that.
No, we have enough issues.
And you already have guys that can do a job, I think, better than what Daniel Jones would in fields.
Oh yeah.
You already have someone better. Why rock that boat? Are you guys going to draft somebody? I would say there are only a few quarterbacks in this draft that I would consider taking, and they're not going to fall to you. They're going to go, I think, a lot earlier. And there's only a handful of them that I personally think will go. But Scott is going to be on a NFL draft call tomorrow. So hopefully, maybe if he's feeling up to it, might have some takes tomorrow. You never know. He's going to be on Daniel Jeremiah's going to have a draft for the media. So
I've heard Daniel Jeremiah's name before.
Yes.
Quite a few times, actually.
Yes. So it was out. We got an email from the NFL since we were there covering the Super Bowl last. I will say one thing. Since I covered the Super Bowl and we were there for Super Bowl week and media row and all that stuff, the one thing surprised me is I do not know football players outside of their uniform. Put their uniform on, because I see them on Sundays. Their helmets on, their uniforms with their numbers and their names on them. But put them in street clothes. Well, I'm not sure I know who you are unless you're some of the big name ones. Like I knew Jordan Love because obviously I'm a Packer fan. I knew Jordan Love. I knew Dan Marino. I knew some of the big name ones, but a lot of the other up and coming or that were there, I couldn't always recognize them. So I got to do some more research and watch that before I go to the next one.
No, I just want to know what your take was because JD and I pretty much took control of that, and you went to the next topic. So
well, I think that's what it was, Pensman. I think she just agreed with us. I think we said everything there was to say about that. Yeah,
I know. I figured.
Funny, that is hilarious. Oh man.
Okay, so let's go back to telling everybody where they can find you. Let's start with Pensman. Go ahead.
You can find me on Twitter, X, at Pensman Sports. I have my own YouTube channel. I have 746 subscribers now. Let me hit that 1,000 mark before baseball season. Let's get to that mark. We're almost there. And that's pretty much it. So,
okay.
And I read every comment. So you have a comment, you have an idea, I'll look at it and then I'll run with it.
Sounds good. JD, how can people find you?
You can find me at Southern Fried Sports JD on YouTube. You can find me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Just don't call it Twix like Amy Lawrence does. That's the most annoying thing in the world. You can find me there at JD Wyatt06. Also the same way. I'm here to unify the fans. Any comments, any opinions, y'all feel free to reach out. I've had fans on my show. I've had guests on my show. Y'all hit subscribe. We're doing big things. We've got people at the Super Bowl like Candy. We've got Pensman. I don't know if I'm pointing the right way, but you get the point.
Right.
We got people at the Super Bowl. We got people covering the Four Nations. We got people covering Daytona 500. Everything you want to find out is going to be somewhere on these channels. And so we're going to have fun while we do it. Y'all be blessed, not stressed. And as I always say, just be kind to one another. Dang it.
There you go. I want to thank everybody that's been in the comment section commenting on the show tonight. We appreciate all of you for listening and commenting and interacting with us. We love it. Normally, Scott is on here. Scott wrote a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning During Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google Books. On our shows, Monday nights we talk baseball, so you can come watch 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tuesday night, Inside the Pigskin, where we talk everything football. Wednesday nights we have Sports Exchange here. Previously to this episode tonight, we had an episode of No Limits where Scott interviewed Rachel Galvin. She is an actress, writer. She does broadcasts. She does a whole plethora of all kinds of stuff. Voiceovers, you name it. Go watch the episode. It was a great interview. Tomorrow night, Scott does another episode of Sports Exchange where it's strictly baseball and NHL. And then after that is Fire Up, where you never know what we're going to be talking about, right, Pensman? You just never know
We've
got up for beggars.
If you go to Fire Up, make sure to bring a fire hydrant.
There you go.
That would be my advice. Carry an umbrella in the rain. Don't pet strange dogs. And if you watch Fire Up, come prepared with a fire hydrant because they're going to fire up something just like the Southern Fried Gentleman will fry up something in quite a hurry.
There you go.
I think that's the only thing you can expect to fire up is what JD just said.
Exactly.
Fire up a fryer. Do it now.
Yeah.
One last ask for all of you. On Tuesday nights at 7:30, I am on an all-female sports talk. It's Chicks and Salsa or Three Chicks in a Pod. And the reason why we have both, it started out with 3 chicks in a pod before me. They added me as their 4th chick. And I'm like, well, we can't be 3 chicks in a pod if I'm the 4th chick. So we created Chicks and Salsa. So the Chicks podcast on YouTube, Tuesday nights at 7:30. Come see us and subscribe to us as well. with that, it's been a great show, guys. Thanks, JB. Thanks, Pensman. You
You're
guys
welcome.
all have a great night. Watch Four Nations tomorrow night, championship, 8:00, but also be listening to our YouTube channel. You can do both. You can multitask. We do it. You can do it.
I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm doing the shorts and watching at the same time.
There you go.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Sounds good.
That-
Thanks, everybody. Okay, have a good night.
Good night.